In this video, I'm going to be taking you on a journey of how a young boy found the great beast. Enjoy. It started for me at a very early age. I spent more of my time growing up with my grandfather, and being with him really taught me a lot of things about life. One thing about it is that whenever we had the time to sit down and talk, he always talked about an animal that was larger than life. An animal that was so big, he said the dinosaurs didn't compare to it. But at a point, it felt like a story he just told me so that I won't wander into the dark. But he had pictures and drawings of this great animal, and he called it the Great Beast. He said it was a magical animal that only came once in 10,000 years. I was really baffled by these stories because it felt like something that was unreasonable to even think about. But the more I listened to him, the more I became accustomed to what it was. I spent the next 5 years of my life learning about it. I went from town to town to different villages, talking to the elders of the village to try to understand what it was. But each of them with a different story of their own experience. But each of them saying one thing, that it was impossible to see it except it wants to be seen. It felt like a story that had no ending because there was no evidence of it, there was no bone, there was nothing to prove this thing was real. But still, deep inside of me, it felt like it was calling to me. Each time I slept, each time I closed my eyes, I always saw a vision of it, like it's calling to me to come and find it. So I did. I spent the next 2 years of my life planning and preparing to go on this seemingly impossible journey to go to find a beast. They called it a great beast. Only the name implied that it just seemed it could kill me, but I was so intrigued by this story. How could something so large be so hidden in this world? So I decided to embark on this journey. Like Christopher Columbus, I sailed the 7 seas. I searched all around the earth trying to find this larger than life creature, but it felt impossible. The more I traveled, the more I learned about different religions, different groups, different cultures, and it felt like in every culture they knew about it, but they called it a different name. And each time I met these people, it was like the people had a different experience with it, far different from what my grandfather had. It really baffled me, but it ignited a fire in me that seemed to not quench. I spent the next 1 year of my life still searching for it, but I couldn't find anything. Luckily for me, I found a little village I could sleep in, and I met an old lady. She reminded me so much of my grandmother. She was nice, loving, and a very funny woman. During one of our talks, I brought up the talk of me trying to find this great beast. She smiled at me and said yes, she had an encounter with it when she was just 13. I asked her how it was, and she said it was one of the most amazing experiences of her life. She has never felt so much power before. She has never seen anything as big as that before as well. But she said it never said anything. It just looked at her and she trembled and fell before its feet. I was amazed at this information, but I still felt a sense of unrealism. I felt it was impossible for this thing to be on this earth and nobody has seen it, and it had the power to make sure nobody could see it except it wanted to be seen. She said the old stories told them that it could be found on top of a mountain, and the name of the mountain is called the Magical Mountain. I asked where, and she pointed to it. She told me only a few have ever been able to climb up to the mountain, and still they saw nothing. I thanked her for the information, and I knew a long journey was ahead of me, and I got ready for it. I started my journey, and it took me 8 days to climb up to the mountain. On my path, I saw a lot of remains of people that tried. I saw a lot of people going back down who gave up. but still, I knew if only I got to that top, I will find what I came here looking for. So I kept climbing and I got to the top. Getting to the top, it was difficult for me to breathe. The atmosphere was different from any I've ever felt before, but still I knew I will find it. And suddenly I heard something I've never heard before. I felt the mountain shaking, and suddenly in the fog I saw a figure. It kept on coming closer and closer. I had never felt that level of fear in my life. My legs were shaking, I was scared, and suddenly before me was a great beast. It felt like something I had never seen before. His eyes were soulless, but still so gentle. I bowed before it, and when I raised my head up again, it was gone. That was just it. I had at last seen the great beast. It felt so unreal, but till this day, I believe I will see it once again.